A mum with two teenage daughters has been left seething after receiving a letter from their school claiming that menstrual cramps were not a good enough reason to be off sick. That's after both the daughters did have to have time off due to difficult periods. So, do you think, Jane, that the school should have been more sympathetic?
Well, what it's obviously putting down here is like a blanket rule, isn't it? So I think with every school, they look at each individual circumstance, and there will be people that have probably got really extreme period pains where they literally can't leave the house because they're crippled up in agony, and no one's going to expect them to come into school. But if you do a blanket thing where you go, well, yes, if you're having a bit of a period pain, you can't come into school, we all know there will be pupils who don't really like school very much. And every single month, probably for a whole week, they'll go, oh, miss, I've got period pains, I'm not coming in.
Yeah, but it has ever been thus, hasn't it? I mean, you know, I can remember that at school as well, certainly getting out of PE, how many girls that can't miss her. But
you had a doctor's note. Yeah,
but I would say if that is the case and the school has an issue with that, then they've got to speak to those particular girls and sort it out. But to issue a blanket note about period pain isn't enough to get you off, then I do have a problem with that, because it just once again sort of dismisses it as, don't you be coming here with your stories, ladies. And for the girls who do have real problems, I know you two, I mean, I didn't, I was lucky, to be honest, but
it's like
you two really did.
For one naughty kid.
Yeah.
I'd be really embarrassed if something like that came out, and I'd be embarrassed to say something even though I'm doubling up in pain, which was what happened with me when I was younger and going through. It was crippled, but you have to. My family wouldn't let me take the time off. So you take a painkiller and get on with it. But as Jane said, there is the danger of people sort of jumping on that bandwagon. But people like myself had to suffer, and then I had to go, you know, find out. Get a pill and then try another pill because that didn't work to ease the cramps, and then it was finally when I got the coil fitted that eased the pain slightly, but it didn't. You know, if you've got heavy periods as well, that can also be quite embarrassing.
I mean, girls are getting their periods really young these days. I mean, it's not uncommon to hear of 9, 10-year-olds. I mean, we don't know they're getting the support at home. You know,
I think it's better at home now with most people, with the younger generation. So. I know definitely, you know, with Kira, when she first started her periods, and even now, it doesn't matter who's in my kitchen, you know, her boyfriend and his band or her brothers or whatever, they'll all be talking about it. They'll be like, what's up with you? She go, I'm on my period, leave me alone. Whereas I would have rather run away than tell anyone that, especially my brothers.
Do you still feel a bit awkward?
Sometimes, because they talk so openly about it now, or she'll say to one of the lads, not even her boyfriend, like, will you run upstairs and get me a, you know, sanitary towel, because I'm going out. And they go, yeah, no problem. And inside I'm thinking, oh, my God, like, oh, my God. Because when I grew up, we just didn't. You know, my mum never talked to me about it. Luckily, I had older sisters, so they'd all gone through it. So by the time I came along...
Right. But never
you know,
talked
I learnt, but I never spoke to my mum about it, never talked about it in front of my dad or my brothers. But my sisters kind of taught me along, but never, ever, ever... You know, I used to love my PE teacher because a lot of girls who hated PE had come in and go, I can't do PE today, miss, I'm on my period. And she'd go, so am I, get changed. And I used to go, yes, go on, lady. And I suffered really, really bad. But, I mean, for me to take time off school and then from the age of 15 be able to go touring, do you know what I mean, around the world, or... You know, they were bad, and I just had to learn to... I mean, I do think that a lot of them, you know, if you suffer from, which is very hard to diagnose, but, like, endometriosis and stuff like that, that is, you know, really debilitating. So I think if a doctor can say, look, she has got them this bad, then I get it. But you can't just have time off for period pain, I'm sorry.
I mean, why are we saying to girls... I mean, it's not about your periods, it's about the pain, you know, and as I say, I had a very easy time, so it would have been ridiculous for me to take my time off for having my period, but if in your situation, then sometimes it would, or your situation, it would be appropriate. We wouldn't say to a kid, you know, you've got gastroenteritis, so suck it up.
No, but maybe, we don't know the circumstances. Contagious. Maybe this particular school has had huge rafts of girls saying, I'm not in because of my period, knowing full well that actually they're not in because they're don't fancy coming back to school.
Which is what
Well, I
they
think-
have to deal with. You
Yeah.
know, why are those girls using that as an excuse not to come to school? Yeah, there is clearly an issue there, so deal with that. Don't send out some blanket letter talking about period pain.
I bet you again it will come down to lack of staff, lack of time to get involved in
but then for
individual
those
cases.
girls who really do suffer, then they're not necessarily getting the support that they need. And as you said it yourself, endometriosis is one of those conditions which is incredibly debilitating.
Yeah, it is.
Which takes, I think, on average 8 years
But
to be
there's
diagnosed.
a lot more available for alleviating it now than there was when we were young.
Exactly.
Yeah, but if
all of
nobody's-
those things, you know, they get diagnosed quite early if you're switched
Yeah.
on, as you say, or if you've got the right support at home. The diagnosis comes in quite early, and then things like, in our day, we used to think, well, the coil is purely for contraception. The coil is now used regularly to control menstrual cramping.
It is, if you feel comfortable
Kira won't take
getting
any of
that
that.
kind of help. But if you're in your situation, Brenda, who thought, I better just shut up and put up with this, then you did get the help, but, you know, you might have just sat there and suffered in silence.
I suffered in silence, but I did just get on.
But didn't that both really come from how you were brought up? Not
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
possibly.
society
Yeah,
has
but-
changed.
Yeah, but when I was at school, you know, girls would... you'd get the mickey out of it. Oh, you're on your... And that just
No, it's
shames
not
you
like
into
that
not
now.
saying
Not like that
anything.
now.
Changed.
Yeah.
And when did you stop suffering in silence? Because you certainly don't now.
Only when you're on the
Oh, ouch!